What's up, everybody? Axe Wizard here, working on my game some more, and I made quite a bit of progress. Let's just jump into what I was able to accomplish. So you might notice that, well, I got like the planets and stuff there. I think I covered that last time, but now I added the ability to land on them. So at the moment, I added an interact key, and I just set it to be F for now. But you have to be going slow, and you have to be on top of a planet. So let me get over here and slow down. Bam. And you can land on a planet. And then this is a super basic UI that I just kind of threw together just to, again, get a proof of concept going. And I've been having a lot of fun with ChatGPT. So here I have Earth. Earth, the birthplace of humanity and artificial intelligence, stands as the central hub of commerce and progress in the year 3092. AI quickly surpassed the ability to control it, and it achieved its ultimate goal of making life better for all of humanity. The era of government rule ended as AI took control of all aspects of society, leading to an explosion in technological advancements and the possibility of space travel. Today, Earth is a pristine paradise, abundant wildlife and lush greenery stretching across the planet. However, true humans have become a rarity, with most individuals living as augmented beings under the constant care of their AI caretakers. Yet even with the countless advancements in technology, whispers of a growing rebellion can be heard, threatening to upend the delicate balance between humans and their AI overseers. So, that sounds cool. I had AI generate that. So I figure, hey, I'm going to have a game in the future about AI with AI generated art. Why not have AI generate the story too? So I'm just going all in with this, man. This is great. So if you leave a location, you'll be at that location. It remembers where you are, which is, desired behavior. And you can land on the moon. So we have Earth's moon. The moon, the first stepping stone into humanity's exploration of space. Despite being a barren rock, it boasts many large cities that dot its surface. Everything from food to building materials is imported, but with Earth being just a stone's throw away, it isn't a major issue. However, it's also a frequent testing ground for new weaponry, making it a crucial location for military research and development. So, yeah. That's what I've got, like roughly. I'm working on a lot of stuff, and I'm starting to get to a point now where I've kind of done so much under the hood that I don't think I'll be able to cover it all in one episode coming up. So I wanted to just take a moment and talk about this, because this is another milestone in development, getting locations set up and you can land. You might notice that there's 5 buttons here, and there was only 4 on Earth. So every location you have is going to at least have the button to leave. Some locations might not have everything. So if you go to some remote, like planet in the middle of nowhere that's just kind of like this barren, uninhabitable mess, you might not have anything. So my kind of rough goal here is like shipyard is where you're going to go to either buy new ships or upgrade or modify your existing ship. Trade goods is what I'm working on right now, to where you'll be able to buy and sell commodities, and you'll be able to make profit that way if you want to do like a merchant route. Because I remember when I was playing Escape Velocity Nova back in the day, I liked working my way up from my little shuttle that only had like 10 capacity, and then, saving up to get like a bigger ship so I can start doing more and more runs and making more profit. And I thought that was super cool. And it also had like a lot of danger when I started getting a really big slow ship, and I had to hire escorts to protect me, because sometimes pirates would see I got all this fat loot and then they would just blow me up, and that's not cool. So I'm working on that system right now. I'm going to get into that code-wise to show you what I've got. The bar, I don't know what I want to do for this. Like in Escape Velocity Nova, you could go to the bar and you could hire escorts there. Whenever you walked into a bar, sometimes like random events would pop up, like you might hear some gossip, or someone might offer you a job. I don't know if I'm going to keep the bar aspect of it, because I think in this kind of dystopian, somewhat paradise future of like AI makes everything better for humanity, and then humans are just still unhappy and there's not many of them left. I doubt there's going to be a bar, so I don't know. I'm not sure what I think about that. I might brainstorm that with ChatGPT, and then I have a special. So the special is something that's going to be like the button's going to be renamed for whatever it is. So say if, I don't know, you belong to a faction and you land at a location that your faction controls, maybe you could go to your faction headquarters. Or maybe you might be, part of a pirate faction, and you land at some secluded planet that normally wouldn't have any options. Well, guess what? You've got like some sort of quest faction option here. So that's what that's for. So that's mostly what I've done there. Everything else is pretty much the same. I got a few bugs to work out. So for example, if I select a ship or something and then I land, the select was hanging out before. Yeah, there it is. So I got to fix that bug. But I think I know what to do. I noticed that if you zoom into my mini map, my marker's off center. I don't know, maybe that fixed itself. It actually seems to be it's centered now. What did I do? Why is that centered now? Because it was off center before. I don't know. Hey, I fixed a bug, guys. Good job. This is game development. This is great. So let's get into ChatGPT. So if you don't know, you can just make a free account. They just released ChatGPT 4, which they're still rolling out slowly. So I've been using ChatGPT 3, and I was able to just sign in with my Google account. And it's free currently. It's been free for a while. Sometimes there's, during times of like high traffic, you might not be able to get into it. But it's super cool. It remembers your conversation. So I have this conversation saved for Godot 3 where I keep asking it like, questions about Godot 3 and then ideas for my game. And, earlier up in the conversation here, like way up, I was asking, hey, I'm not sure how best to implement this UI. How could I go about it? And then, it'll give me some ideas. It's actually generating code for me. And then later on down here, I might ask like, hey, if I wanted to tweak that UI, what would I do? And it knows I'm talking about that UI like that we talked about earlier in this conversation. And it's super cool. It's got some quirks, but it's been kind of cool to ask it questions, and then it gives me some solutions, and then I look over those solutions, and most of the code it generates is actually pretty good for the most part. Sometimes there's some quirks. Sometimes it'll give advice like, just, if you want to make this UI, just, and then use these nodes, and then some of the nodes it will tell you don't exist in Godot. Like, hey, there's no image node. Use a texture rectangle. My bad, So it's kind of cool to go through it. Here I was asking it, how I wanted to, kind of brainstorming how I want to implement a trade system. And it works kind of like their idea was okay. I mean, it's super basic, and then I fine-tuned it myself. So I asked it for, let me see. I asked it like, hey, what... where was I asking it earlier? Like, what trade goods? Yeah. So it's like, what are some ideas of trade goods for my 2D top-down space RPG? I'm thinking items like medical supplies, various metals, luxury goods. And here it gives me like a bunch of ideas here. So I copy and paste this later on, and I'm like, let's see, where is it? Yeah, like, what would you recommend as base prices for these goods in my space game? And this response here isn't the one I end up using. It was generating like a ton of them and then eventually errored out. But I was copying and typing while it was doing that. So it gives me like ideas for how to price things, and then here I just go through and like, hey, can you give me a description for my game for the following trade commodity, gold, and it gives me a description that I can use. And so here I say, hey, can you modify this description to place less emphasis on monetary value and more emphasis on how it's used as a material in technologies? And then it gives me a pretty good answer. Like, you know, gold is a highly sought after material that is used in a variety of advanced technologies. It's a versatile metal that can conduct both electricity and heat, making it an ideal material for use in computer components, spacecraft, and other high-tech devices. Its resistance to corrosion and oxidation also make it valuable in the production of medical equipment and other sensitive instruments. While gold is still viewed as a symbol of wealth and status, its practical applications in modern technology make it a valuable trade commodity for those looking to advance their technological capabilities. So that's like a super cool immersive thing. So I've been kind of doing all this stuff in game here. So in my classes, I made a trade goods class. And let me just back up here. So I have a class called Trade Goods, and what we're doing here is I have a list of goods, which is a dictionary. So you can see I've got all these goods like platinum, gold, silver, titanium, cobalt, lithium, xenon, which is something it generated, helium-3, neodymium. Wait, I can't even pronounce that. Neodymium. So that's like a cool earth metal, I guess. Food supplies, medical supplies, advanced machinery, computer electronics, rare animals, ancient fossils, cultural artifacts. So these are all trade goods that you can trade, right? So in my dictionary for each of these, I have a base price, I have a description, and I also went and I generated some art for like a little icon that I can display for it. So that's what I'm working on right now. I just started on that UI. It's not even close to being like viewed yet. But that's what I got there. So if we go to my sprites, generated UI. So I've got like a, you know, advanced machinery over here. Like so this looks like some sort of like 3D printer, like industrial grade or something like that can be used to, like, you know, just create things on like planets that need to craft whatever you need, you know. Ancient fossils, and let me just pull these up. Here we go. So we got advanced machinery, we got ancient fossils, we got cobalt, like this is like raw cobalt, this is what it generated. We got computer electronics. It's like basically just a circuit board. We got cultural artifacts. We got food supplies. I don't know what this is supposed to be, but this is what it generated, and it was one of the cleanest looking things that wasn't like, you know, a bad looking tomato or something like that. So I went with it. This is gold. This I think is what it came up with for helium-3, and I was super hyped about that. This, I think, is raw lithium. That's what it generated. So that's what I went with. This is medical supplies. No idea what that is, but it looks kind of medical. This was that neodymium or whatever it was called. It's like that earth magnet metal or whatever. This is what it came up with. So pretty cool. This is either silver or platinum. I don't remember which one. Or it might even be titanium. Rare animals. This is what it came up with, like a shaggy rhinoceros, pig boar thing. I don't know. This is either silver or I think this one's platinum. I don't remember. This one I think is titanium. It's one of the metals. I don't know which one. This is what it came up with for xenon. So I thought that looked pretty cool. So I'm happy with that. And I think that's all the trade goods. That's pretty cool. Got all those in there. I've got some base prices set, and then my plan is that I'm going to have another dictionary called location, goods, and prices. So for every location that we have here, so for example, Earth, these are the commodities that are sold on Earth, and then these are the modifiers to the price. So for example, platinum, they probably have like, you know, pretty expensive, so you're gonna pay a pretty penny for platinum, but also you're gonna pay about 10% more for platinum. Because, you know, say if platinum is worth like 100 or whatever, if you multiply 100 by 1.1, it gives you 110. So it's a 10% increase. This is a 15% increase, 7% increase, 13%, 3%. This is like a 30% discount, you know. So this is how I'm making that work there. And so what you'll be able to do is that different locations will have different modifiers. So for example, there might be some, you know, moon in some distant system that has a lot of cobalt that might be super cheap. Like it might be like 0.3 or something like that, like something dirt cheap. And then you could bring it back to a system that maybe is in dire need of cobalt, and you might be able to sell it for like twice the base price and make a fatty profit off of it. Now, part of the fun will be when you're playing the game, you can find these trade routes. And I'm still brainstorming a system that will kind of dynamically affect things. So say, for example, if you flood the market, you're probably not going to be able to use that trade route again for some time. So I'm still figuring out how I want to handle that. But I think even if I don't tackle that, it'll still be fun. Like, I mean, I can't think of a player that's mad that, oh my God, this trade route never dries up. I can keep making infinite money as long as I can make this journey. I don't think I've ever ran into a player that's been mad about that. So to be honest, it's not really a big problem I want to solve. But, you know, it's something I'm keeping in the back of my head. But I think like with these trade goods here, I think this will give me a good starting point. Maybe I can add some more, but I think when I get going with this, it should work out fine. So right now I've got this groundwork laid, and so all this stuff is basically ready to go. You know, I've got the base price, the description, and then the image to use. So right now I'm working on the UI. So when you play the game and you land somewhere, say if I try to land on Earth, if I go to trade goods, I want to make it bring up a screen that will allow you to like buy and sell goods. How I've got it working right now, and I think it's a pretty good solution, is that when let's see here. So when I go to land on a planet, I haven't even talked about that yet. Holy cow. There's so many things. Test ships. Here, let's start minimizing stuff so I can navigate my way around this place. Okay, ready, process, test factions, clear scene. Okay, so I made a clear scene function because what happens is when you go to land on a planet, it deletes like all the, it destroys all instances that are the child of this main node, which is my main scene. And it clears the scene, so it just gets rid of everything. So then I have a function here called setup space scene that does everything I was doing before. So like when I hit new game on my thing here, when I hit new, this is calling setup space scene. And this just, you know, creates my mouse selector. It creates the parallax background. It creates the some testing locations. So right now I just have 2 planets. So it's creating those and adding them to the scene. It's creating the player, adding it to the scene. It's going through and adding a canvas layer so that we can use for our UI. And yeah, use for our in-game UI. And then it's spawning. We're setting our spawn ships variable to true, so it starts, you know, spawning ships. And then we're just starting out with 5 ships. So that's what it does there. So when we go to land at a location, I call this land at location function, and this is just verifying a few things. Is our player even still valid? Do we even have any locations to land at? If we do, determine what the closest location is. Once we find that, are we within range of this location to actually land on it? And then if we are we slowed down enough to actually land? Because before I added this, You could like piss off a bunch of bigger ships, and you could run away, and you could just fly right past a like Earth, and then as you're flying over full speed, you could hit land, and then like you're back in you're safe. And I want it to be so you have to actually slow down. So that's what I did there. So if the player can land, then we're basically saying, hey, stop spawning ships, clear the scene, and then we're loading our location window UI that I made, and then we're adding it to the scene, and then we're also connecting a custom signal that UI emits. So if we go look at that UI really quick here, so if we go to UI and we go to location window, so this is what it looks like here. And then if I go to the script, so I have a signal called location exit, and then I also have a variable called location data, or just loc data, which is a dictionary. And what this is used for is in main, when we create our location UI, we're setting that loc data variable with all the location data of the actual location that we're landing at. So, and what that looks like here is if we go to location here, we have all these variables here that we set. And rather than going through and setting each of these variables here, what I'm doing is I'm just loading them all into one single dictionary that I can pass where I need it to go, and that way the UI can do everything it needs to do. So that's what I'm doing there. I'm passing in that location data, and then here, when it's ready, when it enters the scene for the first time, I'm getting all the actual UI nodes that this thing needs to manage. So there's a few labels we got to update. There's, the image that we have to set. There's a few buttons that we have to set. So in here, we're setting the properties. So for the labels, we're just updating the text to be what our defined text is that we're using. So such as the title or the name of the location, we're just setting it to be the name of that location. So this allows me to create a reusable UI, and I can just pass that stuff in. And then when people click on buttons, I can just define these custom signals, and I can just emit that signal. And then when I go to create that UI here, I can just connect those signals to my function. So I connected the location exit signal to a location exit function that I made here. And what this does is this just clears the scene again, and then it just sets up the space scene again. So that's why, like, if I play the game and I go and, I got these ships over here. If I land really quick, I'm moving too fast, I leave, those ships are gone. Everything is like regenerated, right? So that's what's going on there. So I think that's a good solution. That way it's like, if you manage to like land at a place when you're under attack, when you come back out, they're not going to be there waiting for you, because that wouldn't be cool. They'll probably move on. I would think that there's some relative safety in landing on a planet that, there might be a lot of other stuff going on. So I'm going to go with that. But that's what's going on there. And so my plan is that when I make more UIs, so for example, where is it? Trade goods here. So I have all these dictionaries, like list of trade goods, and then I also have this location goods and prices here. So when I make my trading UI, I'll just pass in whatever dictionary I have set for whatever location I'm at, and then it'll have access to all this stuff here that will determine, what commodities it actually sells and what the prices are. And then that UI can always just refer back to this dictionary to get the, what's the base price of platinum, what's the description of platinum, what image do I use for platinum, it'll just refer back to this. So it should be able to do that. And then I'm starting to feel a lot better with signals. The only thing I'm not quite sure on is when we go to land at a location here, we're connecting this signal, right? And then when I hit location exit, it's clearing the scene, which is deleting this location UI. So this connection is no longer valid. Now, I don't know if Godot is storing, like, if this is still technically connected, even though this signal will never emit from this specific node again, or if it just takes care of that as part of deleting it. But I don't know if I have to call, like, you know, loc UI disconnect before I destroy it. I don't think I do, but I need to research that. That's the only thing I'm not sure on about signals right now. All right, so before I get too much farther, let's talk about what I've done since last episode. So I fixed a crash when trying to shoot with a location selected. I don't even remember what I did for that, to be honest. If I had to guess, it was probably in my ship code. It was probably in my fire weapons. Right, so we're checking like what we have selected. Do we have a ship or a location? If not selected is location. So this is basically saying, hey, make sure that we're not selecting a location. And then it's a ship. Make sure that the faction is not our own faction, and also that the faction doesn't equal nothing, because then we should still be able to attack them. And if so, then we can shoot them. So what was happening before is that my logic here wasn't quite working out right, and it was treating locations like ships and trying to shoot them, which didn't work. That's not, which crashed the game. So I fixed that. I fixed a bug with faction check. That was the thing I just talked about there as well. So I fixed that. Started playing with ChatGPT, which helped me write UI and some stuff. I already went over that. ChatGPT is amazing. I can't believe I've waited so long to use it. I think I might do a video soon where I make a super simple game with only code from ChatGPT. I think that could be really funny. So I kind of started on that. I had an idea for like this little Viking village pillage game where it's like a long ship comes in and a Viking jumps out, and then it's like a little 2D side scroller, and your Viking has to, like, you know, scare away the villagers and like loot a bunch of stuff and then bring it back to the ship before the timer expires. And then you also have to dodge like guards and like armed people and stuff like that. I thought it could be really fun. And then you just see like what score you can get, see how much loot you can grab before the timer expires or you die. So I think that's a pretty simplistic game idea to implement. And then when I started asking ChatGPT, they went like all out. Like I started asking, like, hey, how would you start going about this, making this game? And it started mapping out like, oh, we got a planet. This is what we got to do. And then I was like, okay, well, for phase 1 of your plan, what would you do? And I just kept going down these rabbit holes. I'm like, holy crap, this thing wants to make a game with like levels and bosses. I'm like, okay, I'll have to, when I do it for real, I'll have to put the reins on it and really keep it in line for what the original vision is, because the scope creep wasn't creep, it was scope explosion. So yeah, I created the UI for locations. I just talked about that, and I started on the trade goods system. And when I say I started on the buy sell UI, I'm not kidding. Like, I just started on it. So if I go and bring that up, so trade window. This is what I got so far. This is the whole thing here. This is a lot of good stuff happening here. So it's basically almost done, right? But yeah, so I think what I might do is I might swap out this color rectangle for, you know, some sort of like AI image of like a space marketplace or something like that. Maybe I'll throw that in later. But for now, I'm pretty happy with just the basic black look with the white text. I think it's clear, and I'll be able to easily like make it prettier going forward. So that's what I got going on there. But I just wanted to make this video to give an update on the game because I feel like I'm about to just go on a coding binge, and then I'm going to come out like 6 days later with like half the game done and I won't even know what I did. So I'm going to try to like pace myself and, you know, try to document what I'm doing and keep up with it. So I'm pretty happy with it. But basically, like, my workflow now is I just go back here and I just ask ChatGPT, like, you know, in Godot 3, what's the best way to ensure... you know what? I'll just ask it that question I wasn't sure on. In Godot 3, if I destroy an instance of a node using Q3, and that node was emitting a signal that was connected to another node's function, do I still need to disconnect that from that destroyed instance? So let's see what it says. So sometimes like it'll type really slow, sometimes it'll type really fast. So if it's typing slow, it means like it's under a lot of load. So ChatGPT says, yes, it's best practice to disconnect any signals before freeing a node. Although freeing a node should automatically disconnect any signals emitted by that node, it's still a good idea to explicitly disconnect signals to avoid any unexpected behavior or potential memory leaks. So freeing a node should automatically disconnect any signals. So that kind of answers my question. They're saying like it's best practice to. I'll say, hey, in what cases would a signal not be disconnected when a node is freed? So I can just have an actual conversation with it, and it will give me like answers here. So yeah, there are some cases where a signal may not be disconnected. If the signal is connected to a function in a script that has not yet been saved and reloaded yet, in this case, the script's function may still hold a reference to the node and the signal connection, preventing the signal from being disconnected. If the signal is connected to a function that is not in the same scene as the node emitting the signal, the function may not be notified. The function may not be notified when the node is freed. So that's a potential thing, because I'm making these scenes like for various UIs, and they're emitting a custom signal to a different scene. So that could be a problem. If a signal was made using the connect method, which is what I'm doing, rather than the connect with object method, in this case, the signal connection is not associated with a specific object, so it may not be disconnected when the node emitting the signal is freed. Okay. So I could have potential memory leaks in my code. Now, sometimes what it says may not always be true, so try to back it up and do research with a grain of salt. So what you can do is say, can you link me the Godot documentation where it states how signals are handled when a instance is freed? And it'll try to hunt it down for me. Okay, so it gave me a link. So let me open link in new tab. It's a valid link. It gave me Godot 4.0. So I'll have to go here and make sure I think I'm using 3.6 right now. Custom signals. Yeah, I don't see where it said that. So let me just load this again. Yeah, I don't think that's a valid link. So again, it's kind of hit or miss, but it's pretty spot on with a lot of stuff. So if I want to ask it, you know, hey, ChatGPT, how would I go about creating a UI in Godot 3 for my 2D top-down space RPG that would allow me to buy and sell the various commodities you helped me with earlier. And I'll see what it says. So it'll probably give me like a process, because like with Godot, you're primarily working in nodes. So it'll give you step by step. So create a scene, add functionality. So this gives me like a rough overview, and then you can ask it to go into more detail for each specific step. Look at that. It's giving me a more detailed breakdown. So this is probably going to actually give me an error, because I think it can only return so many words. But ChatGPT will just keep going hog wild, and then it'll just go until it errors out. So you might want to be careful with what you're asking and break it out step by step. That way it can fully respond. There you go. So it gave me some more detailed help on how to do stuff. So, and then you could ask it like more specific questions. So for example, since I started on my UI already, I can say, hey, this is what I have. I have a control node that has a margin container and a VBox container, and then a label with the title. And you could give it as much detail as you want, and then it will give you pretty accurate like responses. And if you ask it for code specifically, the code it gives can be hit or miss. So for example, this is some code it gave. You'll see like the for some reason the code snippet says it's PHP, but it's not. It's actually GD script. So, but sometimes like the little syntax highlighting code it uses, it might use C#, it might use PHP, it might use Java, it might use JavaScript. It goes all over the place. So let me go back up here to what I was doing earlier. Yeah, so GD script doesn't really have syntax highlighting for the ChatGPT, so I think it just tries to use other. So here it's using PHP again. It's using CSS for this one. It's using JavaScript for this one, but these are actually GD script stuff. So earlier I was asking it like how to implement a tab targeting system, and it gave me pretty good stuff here. So this is like workable code, and it also comments like what it's doing, which I thought was super cool. So then I was like, hey, this code looks pretty good. I also appreciate how you commented your code. Great work. This is pretty close to what I want. However, I'd like it to also temporarily keep track of who it was targeted previously, so it can cycle through every ship. So then it gives me this C# syntax highlighting, but it seems like it's still GD script. And it gives me a whole different code that's like a lot more condensed. And I was like, looks great, but can you modify the code to use camel case rather than snake case for variable names, and also include the type in variable declarations? So it does that. It has the camel case, and it also includes the node types. And then this is kind of where it got weird. I said, hey, the code's a bit sparse on comments, though. Can you make sure the code is commented? Sure. And then it gives me entirely different code that isn't what it was at all before, at least from what I can tell. Like, yeah, whole different stuff. So it's kind of hit or miss, but it's really cool. And so far, I've been using it to just bounce ideas off of, and it's been helping me a lot. So I highly recommend it. Check it out. You just connect your Google account to it, and you sign in with that, and then you can ask it whatever you want. So, you know, you can ask it anything, and it might not give an answer. So, if you ask it, hey, how do I make a bomb? It's probably not going to tell you. I would ask it, but I don't want to end up on some FBI watch list. So, I'm good. But yeah, anyway, I'm going to stop rambling. I don't know why it took me so long to finally try out ChatGPT. I'm glad I did, because I'm having a blast with it, and it's helping out a lot, and it's just really cool. And I'm still a bit torn on how I feel about all this AI that's happening, because, you know, it's going to put people out of jobs. And I think the reason why that's a bad thing is because I don't think we have a system in place to, like, not handle that. Because in today's day and age, it's like, you know, you're supposed to work to pay your way through life and acquire the things you need. And if jobs are lessened and replaced by AI, how are people going to make their living? Because we don't have any, like, if you're not able to provide for yourself, yeah. So it's a kind of a big conundrum there, but AI is not going to go anywhere is the problem. I mean, I don't know if it's a problem or not. It's a challenge, I would say. But so I'm kind of just exploring this, and I think for my initial game idea, you know, I wanted to make a futuristic game, and well, AI is going to play a huge role in the future. So I was like, okay, maybe I can do AI generated art, and that turned out okay. And then I found out now that I can have AI generate my story for me and all my item descriptions and tell me how to code and basically design my game for me. So, I mean, at some point, like, I'm going to be obsolete, right? Won't need developers if you can just have ChatGPT do a project for you. So, yeah, that's fun. But, I mean, who knows? Maybe it might yield in this nice glory age where people don't have to, you know, grind hours of their life every week at a job that they hate so they can do the things they love, and maybe they can devote more time to that. So, that would be ideal, but we'll see what happens. But yeah, so I expect that development's going to pick up a lot quicker on this game now that it feels like I have a second developer working with me, because I can just ask ChatGPT questions. And there's also, apparently, I just discovered today, there's also AI music generators. So I think maybe I might do like in-game sounds and music using AI. So it's looking like by the time I finish this game, that's going to be about like space and AI in the future. It's going to have all the art done by AI, all the text generated by AI, all the music and sounds probably done by AI. And if I find a good way to talk to ChatGPT and start making it give me usable code, there's a good chance that it might even be programmed by AI. And that just blows my mind. On one hand, it makes me excited. And on the other hand, kind of makes me scared. So, yeah. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next episode.